Hi there. Come on in. I'm Fred Trost, and this week on Michigan Outdoors, we're going to sort of drop back in time, but we're going to go fishing in an area that you're going to find most interesting up here in the Sylvania Tract up in the Upper Peninsula. It's a wilderness area in the Hiawatha National Forest. Excellent fishing. It's catch and release. You have to let most of the fish go you catch, but that's okay because it's a lot of fun. You get to catch some big 2, 3, 4-pound smallmouth you never get a chance to catch at any other time of year. That's coming up on Michigan Outdoors, along with a recipe for double-breaded bluegill. A lot of things, so you stay tuned. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors.
From the rugged shore.
Boy, this is a nice-looking little bay here. This is some of these snags and stumps in here. Look terrific. Set that paddle down quietly. What I'm going to be using here, using a little jig. Luke said that should do a number on him. So I'm going to give this a try. The way you work a little jig like this is you cast it up in there and let it settle on the bottom. Oh, I got one on. Oh, boy. Hey, what luck. Looks like a nice one. Gotta tighten this drag down a little bit. That's, uh-oh. There he comes. He didn't want to come in too much. There we go. It's no bad one at all. Holy cow. Come here. You little monkey. Come here. He looked like he's hooked pretty well in the lip. There we go. There we go. Sort of paralyzes him when you pick him up like that by the lip. Get this hook out. Doggone it, unfortunately. That's a nice little bass. Unfortunately, here in Sylvania Tract, I have to throw him back. Ooh. I personally haven't caught enough fish in my lifetime where I enjoy throwing them back yet, but yeah, that's about 15.5 inches right there. Not bad at all. Well, here he goes. Good luck, fella. And that's the way it's done. Let's see if we can catch a bigger one. I used that little pinky jig to catch all of my smallmouth bass on the day and a half I was fishing for smallmouth. Luke Dallas here took most of his smallmouth on a deep-running lure, one that worked down under the water 5, maybe 8, 9 feet. There again, he has to toss his back just like I did, a real heartbreaker to throw bass back like that. Now Luke wipes his hands off and shows you the lure that he was using. Totally different than the jig I used. The jig that I used, I bounced across the bottom. Luke's lure works more like a little minnow scurrying or maybe imitating a crayfish. And in the middle of the afternoon, well, around noontime as a matter of fact, we got a rainstorm. Well, there's not much we could do but just wait it out. We did catch a few fish in the rain, but we also stopped and fixed lunch, had some sloppy joes. Boy, were they good. With all that rain out there, it blasted at us about noontime through lunch. How did that affect your day?
Didn't affect me too much. I still had a great time. Just a super day of fishing.
What about the lunch? Luke, you were hungry, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I got hungry there for a while. We got in there about 2 o'clock, and the hot soup was really good after the rain started. Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, you got to be prepared up here for bum weather, right? Didn't you get into some heavy weather the last time you were here?
All 4 days it rained. And I walked out and never thought I'd dry out.
But the question is, was it worth it?
I'll be back just as soon as possible.
Why? What was so great about it?
Well, the smallmouth bass are just unbelievable fighters. They just tug and jump, and put up everything you'd want.
Have you ever had bass fishing like this before anyplace?
Not up here. I've had fishing almost as good in Canada at times.
I caught fish, I caught about 10 of them that range from 15 inches to 17 and a half. 2 of them 17 and a half. Just spectacular. Knocked me out on that ultralight rod. I fished the whole time with that little pinky jig. I tried a few of the other crankbaits and things, but zilch, it didn't work. And the day before, I got a couple on a pinky jig, and it was spectacular. That ultralight was bent on one fish I had on for about 5 minutes. What was your big battle story?
Well, the first thing is I switched off to the crankbaits and went with MEPS most of the day, and we caught a small bass, or my good friend over here caught a small bass, and we looked over and saw a bass down there that had to go 6 pounds. It looked as big as a grouper.
This portaging can get pretty heavy. I saw you, Lori, coming back on a portage, and you looked like you were pooped.
I was. That portage coming back was a little bit slippery, but it was probably one of the easiest we've done up here. It was more level than the one we were on yesterday.
Is anybody tired?
Well, I think we all are.
It was a long, hard day, but well worth it.
The portages were a little rough especially after the second or third day into the trip, because when you go to a different lake, you have to cross over those portages. But boy, the rewards were well worth it for us at Deer Island Lake, catching smallmouth bass like this. A real treat. You don't very often catch fish that size. Now, there are master angler awards, of course, for smallmouth bass in Michigan. You have to have a 5-pound smallmouth, but actually there are only about a handful that size entered each year. Smallmouth bass differs from a largemouth bass, and it does have a smaller mouth. And here you notice on this one, the holes around the rim of the mouth, those are indicators of where this fish has been caught before on an artificial lure. Now, if natural baits were allowed, the fish would tend to swallow the bait, putting it down in its stomach, and most fish would probably be killed rather than being able to be released as with artificial lures. So this fish could go back, grow bigger, and be caught again. What about the fish that you caught that have been caught?
Well, I did catch some fish today, a number of them that had obviously been caught before. But put-back rule, if that ensures the fishing is going to stay as good as it was today, I'm all for it.
What about you, Terry? What do you think about that throwback rule?
Well, it's a fish for fun, and that's exactly what it is. I hope they never change it, and I hope it stays just as good as it is today. It's a super rule.
How good was it today?
The best I've ever had in Sylvania, and I've been up here for 10 years now. That's good.
Well, you know the fishing's good when you can allow the cameraman some time to fish himself, and he can catch fish too. There's Bob Bishop tossing out a crankbait, and he connects with a hefty little smallmouth. So that's the fishing in Sylvania Tract. I heartily recommend it. It's worth the trip up there. It's worth it even if you don't like to fish, if you just like to camp and take pictures. What a time you can have on a Michigan weekend in the Sylvania Tract. Put it on your calendar for this summer. This has been an exceptional year for smallmouth bass. Now, that film was taken a number of years ago, obviously. No comments, please. That was back in 1978, but smallmouth bass like that have been taken around Traverse area, up at Waugoshant's Point, Houghton Lake, all over the state. For some reason, this has been a good year. I think it's because the weather has held. It's been cooler this spring than it has been in past years, and the fish have stayed in the cooler water that's closer to shore.
Fish seem to be bigger, too, that people are catching.
Yeah, I'm sure they were there last year, but who knows why. Ed, what do you do in the heat of the summer? What are you going to do this month for
Well, I
fishing?
think you have got to be looking at the top of the water late at night. I think that's a prime time to catch some big fish, especially some big bass. I think it's often overlooked.
I think that you don't have to do that, but I think you like to do that. You have fun fishing that way. What about you, Bob?
Either a jig or a spinnerbait. If you've got the patience to let a spinnerbait go right down the bottom, 20 feet down, and work it, just work it up in a bobbing motion and keep the blades twirling, you're going to do well.
And if you like to use bait, I enjoy using bait, worms, minnows. If you have your bobber set like this in the spring for the shallow water, which isn't too bad, maybe a foot or two deep, take that bobber and move it up as far as you can. Probably won't be far enough in many lakes. You want to get right down to the bottom, so take the bobber off, put a split shot on, use the bait, but get it right down to the bottom. Take it right off the bottom, and you could drift over these areas, but the fish, this is not dog days. No stretch of the imagination. Fish are feeding more often, more frequently, and eating more than at any other time of year in the heat of the summer because the temperatures, they seek the temperatures they prefer, and they eat and eat and eat. But you've got to get your lure.
And they're in a far more compact area. They're in smaller areas, so once you get into them, you're into them.
That is fishing in inland lakes. Let's take a look at this fish that Sandy Bauer caught off Lake Michigan. This will be a reminder to us that at this time of year you can catch steelhead like this. Last year, this very week, Sandy Bauer from Edwardsburg on a Pearl J-plug caught a 23-pound, 12-ounce, probably a Skamania steelhead. That makes her our master angler of the week. But if you want to go fishing we'll talk about surface fishing. You can do it with poppers, too, at night on a fly rod. Let's go back up to Sylvania Tract a few years ago. Catch some largemouth bass.
Terry, it was your idea to go to Fisher Lake today. You told us we were going to catch loads and loads of big bass. Did you say big bass?
Lots of bass.
Lots of bass.
Lots of bass.
Yeah, I caught lots of bass. How about the rest of you? Did you, Luke?
Oh, yeah, I caught more bass today than I've ever caught in my entire life.
Is that right?
Yep.
How many do you suppose you caught?
Well, I'd say we caught about 15 or 20 of them there in that one short spot just before lunch. And when they started hitting those topwater baits, that was exciting. I enjoyed that.
What did you use?
I used that little floating Rapala, a number 9 floater, perch color. It's just a beautiful sensation to watch them come up and smack that.
You're originally from Indiana?
Right, northern Indiana,
And you moved here, what, a year ago?
last July.
Have you ever been up to Sylvania or up northern Michigan like
This
this?
is my first trip into the UP, and I'll be back again. This is really exciting.
Terry, what did you catch?
A lot of small, largemouth bass today.
How big?
I'd say the biggest that I caught was about 12 inches.
I measured one just before we quit. I hadn't measured any all day. Mine was 11 and a half. Biggest one. That got to look pretty big towards the end of the day.
You can say that again. Don't ask me about the big fish. All I caught today were some moderate and some small ones.
Well, geez, well, you had a great time, though.
Oh, super time.
Well, who caught the big fish?
Well, who else but Scott?
Scott, you caught the biggest one?
Yeah,
How big was it?
about 14 inches.
How are we going to prove that he got it, though?
We've got a picture of him. We took a snapshot
Oh,
of
you
him
did?
holding it, yeah.
Super.
And we'll have that in a little while.
Okay, that'll be great. How did that fight? Did that jump?
Not much.
Huh.
No, it stayed underwater quite a bit. The big one just stayed down and rolled.
Well, what about you, Laurie? What did you haul in? We saw you hauling in a couple.
Well, in quite a few 10, 11-inch, bass. There's a lot more bass than I've ever caught in one spot before.
What were you using?
We were using little golden number 2 MEPS spinners, and they seem to work quite effectively.
What did you find was most successful?
I used a black popper about the size of your thumbnail, and I caught just all that I could bring in before I got too tired. And it was really exciting. Every largemouth that we got jumped. And the only thing that I wish they were just a little bigger.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice, it seemed to me that the bigger ones, you know, 10, 12 inches, when you felt you really had a big one on, it didn't seem to come out of the water as much as the smaller ones did. Did you notice that?
Today, yeah, that's true. The small ones, every one of them came up though.
Oh, I know. We'd wait for a bigger one to get the camera rolling. Doggone thing wouldn't take out of the water like the little ones.
You know what we ought to do is stop and take a look at Mama Merganser.
Hooded merganser.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
Right out there.
Jesus, they're
Look
all,
at that with all
They're all riding on her.
right on her back. Yeah.
there's
Isn't
about
that amazing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 small hooded mergansers on Mama's back. Unbelievable.
We saw today. This was incredible. You know those two loons that were out there?
Yeah.
We were standing and fishing on a log that was, and the loons came in very close. We're hanging around. Bob looked over and said, "Fred, that's it. Look it over here. There's a loon nest right next to the water. It just had one big loon egg in it, so they, she must have been waiting to lay some more. Looked like a big 4-inch piece of sandstone. One of the ugliest eggs I've ever seen." But
We were over in that corner, and the loon came right up to us, and we couldn't figure out why it let us get so close, and what she was doing was protecting her nest.
all of us used different lures, and all of us caught a lot of fish. The big question is, though, we did a lot of portaging to get there. We went through a lot of mosquitoes, and, oh, my shoulders still ache from all that paddling and carrying all that gear. Was it worth it? Was it worth it?
Absolutely.
Why?
It was just a beautiful experience. It was just something I've never experienced before. Just super back in there, all quiet and watching those fish being caught by everyone. I really enjoyed Terry using that fly rod. It was really fun to watch that with that popper.
Oh, his technique is very good.
Yeah, very good.
I mean, the way he hits the water on both the forecast and the backcast. No, I'm just kidding. No, he did his. Bob filmed me a couple times, and he asked me to cast, and slapped it all over and caught my jacket, the whole works. But what about you guys? You thought it was worth it to go back there to catch all those little ones?
I think it was definitely worth it. Just like you said, the experience of just going back there and the solitude and the peace, and it's just a marvelous place.
I myself have a tough time throwing fish back.
Yes, so.
I really do.
I understand.
Catch and release, some of you folks out there really love it, but I like to eat the fish I catch. I did get into it up at Sylvania Tract. I enjoyed that, catching a lot of fish, and that was fun. They were bigger ones. But when I catch bluegills, Bob,
I know what you like to do.
I know what you like to do. We have a recipe for bluegills coming up, double-breaded bluegills, that we filmed up at Houghton Lake. This was last year at Tip-Up Town. But this recipe is good at any time of year. 1 egg it calls for. Then what?
2 tablespoons of mustard.
2 tablespoons of just table mustard, yellow mustard?
Right. Don't want dry mustard.
Oh, you're just guessing, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
There's 1.
2
and
tablespoons.
There's 2. Okay. Now what kind of sauce?
Worcestershire.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Worcestershire.
That's what I said.
Okay, we're going to put 3 tablespoons of that. This, to me, I don't mean to be making any disparaging remarks about this recipe, but mustard, Worcestershire sauce, and egg.
Doesn't look good.
Not yet. Definitely not yet. You're going to stir that up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to add, let's see, according to the recipe, a tablespoon of water. Okay, you add that. Stir that up, Kathy. We're going to go over here to the bluegill fillets. Pam Reed, you caught a share of these yourself.
A couple of them, yeah.
Okay. You're going to salt and pepper them.
Right.
Well, go ahead and do that.
Okay.
And I would imagine that you wouldn't normally take bluegill and mix it with mustard, Worcestershire sauce.
No, not under normal circumstances.
Okay.
I've never heard this one before.
Double-breaded bluegills.
Sounds interesting. We'll see.
You would normally do what with bluegills?
Usually we either flour them or put cornmeal on them and just fry them.
Okay.
Deep fry them.
So we're going to salt and pepper these. Next step it calls for in the recipe, and Kay Ritchie's recipe here, is to take the salt and peppered fillets and dip them in flour. You want to take one and roll it in the flour? And this is at the point where you would take them and drop them right into the...
Right into the cornmeal or the flour, and then I drop them in the frying pan like that.
Okay, now we're going to put them right into this mixture, Kathy. That looks Let's get a look at that. Doesn't that look something? Right there,
It's
okay.
going to be interesting.
It's good fillets here.
Now this is why we call it double breaded, because we've already breaded it in flour. We put it in this egg, Worcestershire sauce, mustard, water mixture, and into breadcrumbs or cracker crumbs. Okay, so go ahead and flip it over, Kath. Double breaded bluegill, and I'm sure this would work with other types of fish. Now we're going to take it over and drop it into the hot oil. It doesn't take but, honestly, 2-3
No, in
minutes.
fact, this is almost too done, I think. We got to get these turned over in a hurry.
Okay, I'll eat those ones that are too done.
Oh, not unless you beat me to them.
Look at that, it's coming apart right
yeah,
there.
it
that
is. This
one
over
fillet.
here.
That bluegill did not take long at all to cook.
No, just a couple minutes, and the kitchen didn't smell like fish.
It was an amazing recipe.
It
It had a little
was
bit of a mustard Worcestershire sauce smell that Ron and Pam were concerned would overpower the taste of the fish.
Right, but Pam says no, she could still taste the fish through that. I was surprised.
I want to see what these two say about it. The bluegill they caught. You caught it.
That is
It's
good.
Good,
And you can still taste the bluegill.
very good.
You were concerned about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
with all
Very.
the stuff in it, I was concerned with being able to taste the fish, but you can.
It's very good. I'm surprised.
How is it, Kat?
It's great. It is.
I think so too. I've eaten my share between the frying pan and the table here. Very frankly. You two fellas missed it.
That's okay. We had some of Mike Ignat's wife's good cooking. And
Well, I tell you missed it because Ron, who was very skeptical of this, he almost got surly about me interviewing him while he was eating.
If you get the mic out of my mouth, I could eat it.
Oh, good. Okay. I think I'm going to put the mic down myself and have some too.
That recipe was a great one, Ed. I did. Can you imagine Ron Reed and Bob Garner at the same table?
Oh, no.
It would look like a hockey game.
Yeah, I want elbow pads.
Elbows flying.
He eats a lot, you know that?
Whoa, that is a great recipe, though. But Ed, we have our outdoor fair coming up at Houghton Lake. That's one of the highlights.
Where we bring together all kinds of fishing, hunting, and shooting sports exhibits for you to see. The indoor exhibitors, fishing lure companies, taxidermists, bow and arrow manufacturers, and the like are all housed inside Houghton Lake High School. Outside, you'll find a Lansing muzzleloaders village, Berkeley's speed casting competition, silhouette shoots, dog training demonstrations, and more, including the Flint Bowman's archery shoot with hand-painted targets, a golden arrow 3D shoot, and novelty shoots.
Charlie, you're really going to have people shoot at that bear at that distance?
Oh, yeah, we kind of let our Bigfoot shoot.
Okay, how far away is that bear?
Well, a long way.
Oh, you're not telling?
No. We can't
You mean to
tell.
tell me people are going to shoot this stuff and not know how far away it is?
Well, sure.
Oh,
You have to figure out
This is
everything
what-
on your own. Yeah.
this is what bow hunters call fun.
Yeah,
Ron, you
right.
said you can hit it? See, but he's paced
Ron
off the
can
distance.
hit it.
Okay, let's see him hit it.
No.
Let's see him. And we're not going to stick around to watch him find his arrow either.
First off, you got to kind of look the distance over, you know.
Yeah.
10, 20, 30.
Go ahead.
Long ways, ain't it?
Go ahead. You want to come back around here over his shoulder, right? Watch this. Look at the angle of that arrow. Oh, that isn't too bad.
Wait until he starts.
He can't hit it. Oh, look at him. Now he's up, 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 up. Oh, he's going to be all day looking for that arrow. I didn't hear it hit. I didn't hear it. It didn't hit.
I don't know. I didn't hear it.
Huh?
Sun was in my eyes.
Sun was...
Sometime before the outdoor fair, you should slip in a perch fishing trip. Whether you go to Southwest Lower Michigan, they're really hitting off the piers, or here around the Thumb. We're going to be off Au Gres, Tawastat area this coming week on Michigan Outdoors, and maybe we'll get us a jumbo perch this size. I can't guarantee it. I mean, you know how our last muskie trip went, but we're going to give it a try. So join me next week on Michigan Outdoors.
Boy, this is a nice looking little bay here. This is some of these snags and stumps in here look terrific. Set that paddle down quietly. What I'm going to be using here, using a little jig. Luke said that should do a number on him. So I'm going to give this a try. The way you work a little jig like this is you cast it up in there and let it settle on the bottom. Oh, I got one on. Oh, boy. Hey,
What luck. Looks like a nice one. Gotta tighten this drag down a little bit. That's, uh-oh. There he comes. He didn't want to come in too much. There we go. This isn't a bad one at all. Holy cow. Let me get, come here. You little monkey. Come here. Oh, he's looked like he's hooked pretty well in the lip. There we go. There we go. Sort of paralyzes him when you pick him up like that by the lip. Get this hook out. Doggone it, unfortunately. That's a nice little bass. Unfortunately, here in Sylvania Tract, I have to throw him back. Ooh. I personally haven't caught enough fish in my lifetime where I enjoy throwing him back yet. But yeah, that's about 15.5 inches right there. Not bad at all. Well, here he goes. Good luck, fella. And that's the way it's done. Let's see if